4x6 photo. I have some papers from the All About a Boy collection and these little gears that came from Prima. They were part of a pack that included clocks, gears, and keys, and I think this is going to be the last of the gears that I've pulled out here. I'm going to mist them with a number of different mists that match this paper. Now this is my second sheet of this paper. Normally I only buy one sheet of each paper in a collection. Sometimes I buy two if it's something I really, really like. In this case, I only ordered one to begin with, and I used this side of it on another layout and thought that I'd like to have another piece because I wanted to use the gears. By that time I came across another piece, I had this paper or this photo, and so I knew I wanted it. Well, now what I would really like to have is both sides again, because I think that the photo would look great with the gear paper, but not, you know, right on it. It's obviously it needs to be on a mat or some other kind of paper. The back side, though, would make a great place for that photo to reside. So I need to work with both sides of one sheet of paper on the same layout, and I do this occasionally. I'm going to do it on this sketch. This framed area here, the inside of it will be the back side, the wood grain, and then the outside border will be all of the gear paper. So I'll be cutting out the part of it, the square, in order to flip that over and make the wood grain. When I cut that out, though, I'm not going to end up, of course, with an absolutely perfect cut, and it wouldn't look good just to fill that in, so I need to mat it. And that's where some of the other papers in the collection, the collection kit has, or the collection had some solids in there, so I have this one with the blue, and it had a teal on the other side. I think I'm going to use the blue to make a mat around the wood grain. And then the rest of the page is pretty straightforward with some journaling, a title. I think I may use some paper clips up here, something kind of boyish, you know, nothing flowers or ribbons or whatever. And I'm anticipating maybe a stamped message down here at the bottom because I have some good stamps for these kinds of things from Technique Tuesday. To get started, though, I think I will go ahead and mist these so they can be drying. These are embossed with a design, so when you spray the mist on, that design will come through. And you can see that happening on this one. It's up here a little bit closer to the camera. See the design coming through there? And this one needs just a little bit more mist. I need to give them a little more intense red color. And then we'll just set those aside and go through and do the others, the yellow and the blue and the green. Okay, to cut out my background square, I went ahead and cut this mat. And the mat on my sketch is 5 1/4 inches, and I always do these sketches so they're a 2:1 or 1:2 scale. So if it's 5 1/4 inches, I just double that to 10 1/2. So I cut out a piece of the solid color designer paper to 10 1/2 inches. And now what I want to do is to cut my inside a little bit smaller than that, so that this will still have something to lay on top of, and then the other, I can flip it over and put it on this front side. Now, also from this, I can determine how far up to come. Looks like the very edge of this mat should be a quarter inch up. I'm going to want to go, or in my case, I double that to a 1/2 inch, so I want it to be a little bit more than 1/2 inch up and about 3/4 inch over. So what I'm going to do is come about 5/8 inch up. And 3/4 inch over. And go ahead and mark. Oops, getting away from me.
Okay, I'm going to speed this up just a little bit. I just continue to mark the area that I'm cutting. Sometimes when I'm doing this kind of thing, I'll just use the ruler and get it nice and straight and just cut directly. But in this case, I wanted to mark the amount of area that I was cutting because it had to be fairly precise since I wanted a very narrow mat of that blue paper, and I needed to use pretty much all of that designer paper on the background there. It's either going to be the little gears showing, or it's going to be the wood grain side flipped over. So I had to be very careful as I was cutting. Making sure that I'm going to be able to cover everything with my mat. And then now I'll take a craft knife and cut along my lines. Go ahead and getting all of that cut out, laying my mat down, and I'm going to take this wood grain design to the paper trimmer and even it up a little bit and make it just a little bit smaller. Getting everything turned around here the right way. Alright, I'm going to mount all of this on a piece of very thin designer paper. This is the kind of project that makes sense if you, like me, you only have one sheet of paper left. If you're just trying to save paper and you've still got to mat it on something, it may not be the most cost-saving. But the paper that I'm using for a background is one of those really thin papers that came out of a paper pad, and I like to use those because they don't take up they don't add a lot of bulk, and they're not really, I don't use them for a lot of other things, so this is helpful for that kind of thing. So I'm just mounting everything on that one layer, and then the back side is going to be nice and smooth. You're not even going to see all this cut area. At this point, I have things mounted, and I started to play with where to put those little gears, and I remembered that I wanted to stamp something on the bottom there. It will need to be embossed since it's going to be a dark background. This is a stamp from Technique Tuesday that I'm inking up there in Versamark. It's the words say "taking it all in," and I'm going to use silver embossing powder, and we'll see how that shows up. I'm hoping it'll show up good on the brown. And it's not showing up very well right now, but when it's embossed, when it's heated, the silver should come out quite a bit more. Yeah, there it is starting to pop out. And now I can start layering everything, just deciding where I want to put my gears. I have 2 reds and 2 yellows, so I'm putting one on each side, and then the blue and the green will go over there on the left. And just deciding which one I want on top and which one I want on the bottom. I decided I wanted the red a little bit further away from the red one on the right side of the page. And I need to get my title in place before I glue these down. It's going to say Lawn Mowing or Lawnmower Repair 101. That was my husband's idea for a title, using the Scrabble tile letters. They do work on this background. That's the first time I've used these, so I have a lot of them, and that's good because the word repair uses 2 R's, which are things I always seem to use up. I was planning to move them over to the right and have lawnmower on the left side, but I'm going to have to stack them because I just don't have enough room. Pulling out some numbers for 101. I was afraid these might be too big, but I think there'll be room as long as I scoot everything over to the left just a little bit. I want to have the same amount of space on the left side as on the right side within the square there. In other words, I don't want my title to look like it's fallen off the edge. And I'm using some October Afternoon Mini Market stickers. I was going to put lawnmower, and I really think I've got too much red. I'm going to check my stash here and see if I don't have some other colors that I can bring into this. I have these blue stickers from Pebbles. I'm going to try mower out of those, and I can go back and change lawn to blue if I want to. I also found some other thickers that I had numbers in, and I actually have more numbers out of these yellows, so it'd probably be better to use these rather than to use all the 1s and 0s out of the red pack, and they're going to show up the best. So this is the yellow ones are definitely the winners here. Now it's just deciding whether I want lawn and mower to be in the same color or two different colors. I think I like them in two different colors. The gears, a couple of them are going to need something in the middle so that my brads have something to be anchored on and they don't look like they're just floating there. I can put some cardstock in the middle of those. And I've got 3 brads, so I'm going to put 2 over on the left and 1 down there in the lower right hand corner, and then I have some small brads I can use to fill in the other gears. I still have to do my journaling. I have the journaling typed up and I'm mounting that on some gray cardstock. And I went through the papers and I had not used a lot of the designer papers, but I have this chevron that matches all the colors. If I cut it in a narrow strip, it'll kind of form an arrow that I think would be pretty underneath that journaling. And I still have one more thing to do that was on the sketch, and that's a tab over here on the left. I'll probably put the date on that.
Okay, here's our completed page. And going back to the sketch, we've got all of the round embellishments. I've used these gears, added the journaling. I just added a little strip of that chevron paper cut to form an arrow and used paper clips up here. My title ran a little long. I purposely hung the letters off to the side to make them slightly more casual. I have this tendency to try to make all my letters fairly straight when I think sometimes they'd look better if I made them a little more casual. But do some close-ups, use some silver perfect pearls on the gears to add a little bit of extra silver trim to this. And of course this all started with this one paper that we cut out the middle and flipped it over and then just framed it in another paper to get both sides of the one paper. So anyway, that's my page, and I don't think I should do this part. Anyway, that's my page, and thank you for watching. Please check out my blog. You'll find the sketch there and other information about the layout.